different bestiality, different types of animals roaming the earth. Everything was perverted at the time. It got so bad to the point there was only one family left, Noah and his 3 sons, that had pure human DNA left. And that's why the world God destroyed the world with the flood and started over again. But the Bible says in Genesis 6:4 that the angels fell before the flood, and after they were more limited in the way they could produce seed at this time. But I want to get into Esau, because this is a really interesting story with Esau here. There are 2 different groups of people throughout the Bible, in our past, our present, our future. There's those who are elected to grace, while the other is elected for wrath and destruction. These are 2 specific groups with 2 specific elections, and only they can hold these elections. No one else is like them. So you have one group appointed to wrath and one appointed to grace. Wrath being Serpent's seed, grace being Yahweh's seed. Some people want to say it's totally a specific seed line. And although it may sound like it's that, it doesn't mean that at all. That would be like saying all those born into a cursed seed line are doomed for hell, and all those born into Yahweh's chosen seed line are awarded heaven. And we know that's not the case. We know that we have to choose Yahweh. Just because you were born with a good seed line does not mean you are automatically given heaven for eternity. You must choose Yahweh. There are 3 aspects that come into play at all times in regarding all things. The choices Yahweh makes, the choices Lucifer is allowed to make, and the individual choices we make. Esau was born of a good seed line, but he chose to go the way of the wicked. Just as those born of cursed seed lines can choose to go to the way of righteousness. Do we choose ahead, or are we chosen ahead of time to do exactly what we do? Yahweh knows the end from the beginning, and he knows those who are his and those who are not, because he knows exactly what is going to happen. And he places his chosen vessels of honor anywhere he wants to, good or bad seed line. And Lucifer will do the same thing, except his vessels are vessels of dishonor. Some say the whole war started with Jacob and Esau, when it actually goes back to Cain, and in the last days it's going to accumulate as the seed lines of Cain through the Antichrist will try to destroy and annihilate the seed line of Jacob. And I'm not just talking about the Jews and Israel, folks. I've said over and over again on this show that most of the white races of the world today are Israelite tribes. They just don't know who they are. And that's why it's an out-and-out war. Remember, it was Esau who married into the cursed Cain race, corrupting his seed and offspring. He wasn't born into a cursed seed line. He turned his back on his good seed line and went the way of the wicked. Now, the seed of Jacob is both the house of Judah and the house of Israel, the 12 tribes. America is part of Israel, part of Joseph's tribe. And don't go off into the British Israelism theory here, because it's flawed. And this whole British Israelism theory serves the purposes of Illuminati, the Illuminati, the way they have it worded, trying to claim that the British throne goes through King David, when that's been sabotaged over the years. Especially the ones on the throne now over in Europe are imposters. The Windsors, King Charles, they don't have royal bloodline at all. They're Moravian, they're Serpent seed line, and they want people to believe that they have royalty bloodline that goes back to David, and it just isn't so. If you look at much of the scattered tribes of Israel today, they include Germany, France, Britain, America, and other tribes. Like I said, the predominant white races of the world are tribes of Israel. America itself contains a mixture of all the tribes of Israel here, and many of us are linked to one of the sons. Manasseh is dominant in America, while Britain is Ephraim, Reuben is France, Dan is Greece. You'll see these sons all over the world with huge races. The Gentiles related to the house of Judah and the house of Israel is those who have converted to Yahweh, or for those who do. And they're pretty much on the outsides of the war looking in, but they can convert to Yahweh. The entire Last Day War puts the Gentile races in the middle of a war between Satan's people and God's people. It is a war to see who will rule from Mount Zion in Jerusalem, with Satan working through his seed line and Yahweh working through his to see who wins. Well, if you jump to the back of the book, you know who wins. Yahweh does. But Satan will be allowed to attempt to rule the world for 42 months before he is utterly demolished by the second coming of Jesus Christ. You know, if you read in Genesis 25:21 to 23, the war started back in the womb of their mother, Rebekah. It says, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. The twins in her womb at the time were Jacob and Esau, and they were already at war with each other then, fighting in the womb. The Lord had ordained them as 2 different types of people that would be at war with each other. One would be stronger than the other, and the elder would serve the younger. Esau, being born first, would serve Jacob. And if you read the story of Esau and Jacob, Esau selling his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of red pottage, Edom being the color of red, pottage being lentil beans. It was because the birthright meant nothing to Esau. He despised it. But what's his birthright? It was to bring forth the seed line of the Redeemer of Adam, which would be Jesus, Yahushua. Esau did not care about it, and here Jacob was willing to wheel and deal and deceive him to get it. You know, it meant everything to Jacob. Esau despised his birthright, and that's why Yahweh despised him. Esau was determined to go on his own way and do his own thing, and that's what he did. You know, if you look at Genesis 26:34 and 35, we read how he committed his own seed line to eternal ruin and destruction, becoming sons of perdition, even as Judas, who betrayed Jesus, was. Not only did he give his birthright away to Jacob, he broke the hearts of both Isaac and Rebekah by taking Hittite women as his wives. You know, the Hittites were descendants of Heth, and Heth was one of the sons of Canaan, a cursed seed. Canaan was the son of Ham, the father of all Canaanites, including the Hittites. These people were a cursed seed because of what Ham did to his father Noah. Look back in Genesis chapter 9, verses 22 through 25. It says, Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brethren without. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him, and he said, Cursed be Canaan. Now this was another event covered up by figurative language, folks. The actual sin was a homosexual act that Ham committed on Noah, and then laughed about it to his brothers. When Noah awoke from his drunken state, he knew what Ham had done to him. And then we go back to this word knew again, knowing and knew, the real meanings of those terms. And, you know, he knew what Ham had done to him and cursed. He didn't curse Ham, but he cursed his offspring, Canaan. That's where the Hittites came from. And the Hittites were the power brokers in the known world, much as today. They controlled most of the economy. They controlled the economics, the money, the merchandising, what we look at as corporations. And were a very powerful influence in the world at that time. They were worshippers of Satan and had much wealth. When Esau married the Hittites, he created high treason against the Most High by adulterating his holy seed with the serpent seed and cursed seed. And so he sold his birthright for red pottage, mixing his seed with the serpent seed, and by doing so condemns himself and his entire offspring to the lake of fire as tares. And we're going to take a 5-minute break here, folks, and we're going to come back. Back in about 5 minutes.